funny story. I graduated high school in San Diego in the 2007. It is currently the year 2024. If you can do a little bit of math, that means it's been 17 years since I graduated high school. Really makes you feel like an old man. I was very noteworthy among my high school graduating class because in my senior year, when I had just turned 18, I moved into a van out of my parents' house and I stopped wearing shoes to school. So everybody knew me as the weird kid living in a van and refusing to wear shoes, which I eventually got kicked out of the school for. I made much controversy and gossip, and basically, yeah, it was just a very strange time in my life where I was experimenting with establishing my freedom in the only way I knew how. It was a very chaotic time, but ultimately looking back, I can see how it was the beginning of a path that eventually led to me embodying my values now as somebody who's determined to live life the way he wants without being controlled or suppressed in any way. That was just like the embryonic stage of that, the beginning of my adulthood. And so once in a while I tell that story, and I think it's kind of fun, and it was a very memorable time in my life, but it's not like a big deal. It's not like a world famous phenomenon. That's the guy who lived in a van when he was in high school. Oh my God, it's just like a funny little footnote in my early adulthood, right? Well, I went back to California last month, and I went back to my high school, and there were only a few teachers still there from the time I was there, ones who I had, like the economics teacher and the music teacher and a few other people in the administration. And first, I was very surprised that as soon as I walked into the classroom where these people were teaching, people who had me as a student 17 years ago, they immediately recognized me. That already I was impressed by. Like, I thought maybe they'd have to squint a bit, like, wait a minute, aren't you that guy? Oh my God, what are you doing here, But it was like, hey, Gregory, why are you here? Like not a day had passed, which I was very impressed by, because you have to figure they've had several hundred students or thousands of students by now in 17 years, yet somehow they still, and I don't look exactly like I did when I was 18, I have a few signs of aging. But also, not just that they remembered me, but they had detailed stories to tell about me. Like when I walked in front of their class, they said, oh my God, this guy graduated. What year did you graduate? 2006, 2007? Man, this guy used to live in a van and he played all these musical instruments in the orchestra and he did all these crazy things with the teachers who hated him, but some of them really liked him. And like they told stories about me that I didn't even remember, like specific things. And as soon as they told them, I had to stop and think, wait, yeah, that did happen. I did cook pancakes out of the back of my van and offer them to the teachers. I forgot about that, but they remembered all these things after 17 years and probably many hundreds of students. And actually one of them was someone I didn't even know. I went to the library to donate copies of my books. I just went in and say, I'm an alumnus of the school. I thought I'd donate some books while I'm in town to the library if you guys take donations. And the librarian, I guess, or whoever was running the library, said, yeah, sure. What year did you graduate? I said, 2007. She said, oh, some of my sons were there around that time. They graduated a couple years after you. And she told me their names and I didn't recognize them. And then I said, oh, did they ever tell you about a kid who used to live in a van and not wear shoes to school? And her eyes kind of lit up and said, yeah, was that you? And I said, yeah. And again, I've never met this woman. I didn't even know her children. But just through her children, who were roughly the same age as me, she had heard of me and knew who I was just based on that story. And she took a selfie with me to show her kids, like, oh my God, it's that guy who went to school. And so I was sitting here thinking, like, why the fuck do these people still remember this story after 17? Like, yeah, you probably remember that there was a weird kid several years ago, but there've probably been lots of weird kids in the years since then, right? Like just one noteworthy kid, right? But like just the fact that they remembered so many details, and even people I had never met before knew me by reputation. And I started thinking, why is that the case? Like, why after 17 years do people still vividly recall this? And I realized it's because I did a thing that no one had ever done before, and I guess has not done since then, which was, one, just moving out as soon as you turn 18 during senior years, I guess is a pretty rare thing to do. I literally did it on my 18th birthday. I moved into a van. Like, I didn't wait one day longer than I had to legally to move out. And yeah, moving into a van is a really uncommon thing. And then all of the commotion and the story around this kid who the administration had all these problems with because he refused to play by the rules. He was constantly pushing the boundaries to see what he could get away with, and just basically refused to compromise on his lifestyle experimentation and self-expression. And so everybody just remembers this story of this really weird, outgoing, experimental guy. And that got me thinking, if I want to spread a message, if I want to be memorable in some way that matters beyond just, oh, remember that crazy guy who went to school here, you know? I have to do things that no one has ever done before that are worth talking about and worth remembering. I have to be willing to engage in social experiments that no one else around me is willing to do or would even think to do, right? And actually, that's pretty easy to do here in Armenia because everybody here is very suppressed. And so many things that you wouldn't even consider that strange or outgoing, nobody here has ever thought to do or would be willing to do, even if they did think of them. But I don't want it just to be like notoriety for notoriety's sake, being weird for being weird's sake. It's not about vanity at all. It's not that I want to be a celebrity or I want everyone to know my name. It's that it's a way to spread new values, new ideals, positive humanitarian things worth paying attention to because they're noteworthy and because they help humanity and Armenia in some way. So that's one of our explicit goals now. It's part of our public relations department, our branding and our marketing department. We're going to be the people who are not afraid to try new things and tell the whole country and the whole world about what we're doing. And maybe a few of those things will be things that are so interesting, so noteworthy that people will start talking about them 17 years later.